Hello there, and welcome to something I said I'd do on the stream a little while ago. It's kind of a documentary thing, mainly because I'm so interested in this. We're talking about um, theories, particularly simulation theories. So let's just basically get um, idea, I suppose, of what we're talking about. Simulation theory proposes that our perceived reality is a computer simulation. Well, I disagree with computer. I'd let you know more about that later. Possibly created by a more advanced civilization. Once again, I would disagree with that. And again, I'll come back to that later. The core idea is that we experience an artificial reality, similar to a video game. Yeah, that's the sort of thing we're talking about, with human being simulated entities. Again, um, simulated implies not real. Again, I would disagree with that. It's been explored by philosophers, scientists, and technologists, leading to various interpretations. So, simulated reality. The fundamental idea is that the world we receive and experience is not the real world, but rather a sophisticated simulation run by powerful computers. Define computer. A computer implies a machine which is capable of sitting here doing this with a robot. Anyway, so a computer implies a machine which is capable of running a program according to certain parameters, which are created by somebody who is wanting to achieve a certain end. Advanced civilization. Well, I would think they have to be pretty advanced to create an entire universe, which is what we're talking about here. I mean, but again, there are limits to that, and I'll come back to that later. Nick Bostrom proposed the simulation argument, suggesting if civilization becomes capable of creating simulations, it's highly probable we're living in one. That's a bit of a circular argument, really. If there can be simulations, there are simulations. But he does say highly probable, so there you go. The idea that consciousness can exist on any physical substrate, not just biological brain, supports the possibility of simulated consciousness. Again, that implies that this is all being run on certain types of computers. So, for and against. Simulation hypothesis can be supported by the advancements in computing power and the possibility of creating realistic simulations. Just as a side note here, I was watching a video on this morning, and apparently the DNA, 1 gram of DNA can hold 2.35 petabytes of information. Petabyte is 1,000 terabytes. 1,000 terabytes is 1,000 gigabytes, roughly, and 1,000 gigabytes is 1,000 megabytes. So that you can imagine the scale of the information. Right, so can be supported, but the idea that any civilization would create civilization is a way to understand the universe or create new experiences, provide support. It faces challenges, including the potential for infinite regressive error. Reality is the simulation. What of reality of the simulator? Okay, so let's leave that aside now and go back to finding out what I would consider a simulation to be. So for me, a simulation, in its simplest terms, is some form of reality which is artificial or designed to become, how can I put this? It's either artificial or it is set by only governed by its own rules, and those rules are made by someone else. So, why would you want to make a simulation of a universe? Well, there are several reasons, and I suppose the main one is that we want to find out, not we, but the people or creatures or whatever that created this simulation would have wanted to find out how they got where they were. So they created this entire universe, which may be based on their own, but in microcosm, so that they could find out what might have happened, or find out ways they could have made their universe better. Basically, that's that sort of theory. Another idea of simulation is that an alien race just wanted to see what would happen if they put that computer game with real living creatures. When I say alien, I mean someone on scale of sort of 50 times the ability or scientific ability that we have, or 100 times, or 1,000, or 1,000,000 times, however many, and they just wanted to find out what would happen. It's like God playing dice, basically. And another type of simulation might be that somebody somewhere in the same existence as us has worked out how to do this, um, and just wants to see what the result will be. A lab, basically. And so either you've got a god doing the simulating, or you've got somebody in another plane of existence, if you like, who's worked out how to do this. So that brings us on then to multiverses. Now, multiverses are getting a bad rap at the moment. They're saying that multiverses are the only thing keeping cinema alive at the moment. When I say multiverses, though, there is a theory that, and this is all fairly garbled because it's coming from someone who's totally non-scientific, but I'll try and get the idea across anyway. The idea is that for every branch, every decision made, every action that happens, the universe splits off into hundreds, thousands, millions of different multiverses, each one slightly, subtly different. So the idea of a simulation is that somebody in another multiverse might have worked out that they could find out what happened if those choices are made differently. So, say I, for instance, am an almighty being and all that sort of thing. And I'm living in this universe where technology is hundreds of times more capable than we are, and I want to find out what would have happened. Um, it's difficult to explain. Let's just say, for instance, something has happened, something which I didn't want to happen, and it's changed my life for the worse, and it could have been prevented if we could find out what happened in the past. So you invent a simulation, and you go back in. You literally not literally go back in time. You create a simulation that then tells you what went wrong, why, and possibly we can avoid it if happening again, basically. So that's another reason why you might want a simulation. Then there's the brain in a vat, and this is the one that I think we're living in. And basically, it amounts to the fact that the only thing that we understand, and the only way we find out about the world is through basically eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and nervous system. In other words, we're only getting inputs that they give us. There is no reality in this situation, or there's no reality that we can conceive. So basically, we could be fed all this stuff by somebody else, and we would see it as reality. So let's just take that stage further. So let's just say, and there was an experiment done like this, or somebody actually posited this idea in the past. I don't know who these people are. There's loads of stuff on the internet about it. But anyway, let's just say that we are living in a cave, and in this cave, there's just rock walls, and there's food, and there's water, and there are shadow plays on the wall. So we sit there all day watching these shadow plays, like little somebody's showing a light into the cave, and it's creating shadows on the wall. And the only world we know are shadows, so we think that our world is made up of shadows. There's nothing to tell us it's not. Our brain is telling us it is. All our senses tell us we're in a cave, but the world outside consists of shadows on the wall. Not even outside, but the world consists of shadows on the wall. If you're kept from seeing what's outside, then you would believe that was the entirety of his reality. So take that stage back to where we were before, and all we can see with our eyes and senses is what we're told to see, what is fed to us. And this is the idea of a brain in a vat, that we don't actually exist in the universe. The universe itself doesn't exist. We are given information via various places. I mean, we have our TVs and our even we don't even know they exist, but they are feeds through our eyes. And nostrils can be made to smell things when there's no smell there. Anyone could tell you that is a thing you could do. And hearing, I mean, anything can be fed through our hearing. So basically, you're just a brain. Everything is being fed to you via a sophisticated system, whereby you are being told this is what the universe is. You don't know, for instance, that anything in history happened. It could be the whole of history. It's just been one long simulation that your brain accepts because it's consistent. And bear in mind, for all these simulations, you would need to have rules like the speed of light, and you'd have to create all those rules yourself to make the whole thing consistent and make it believable. So there you go. That's the brain in the vat. So either somebody somewhere is creating a simulation just to find out how or what went wrong in the past. They're creating a simulation to work out what the universe would have been like if they started from scratch with a certain set of rules and where it would end up. And then there's the other, which is the brain in the vat. And that's the kind of scenario that the Matrix got involved in, where humans were just batteries for machines to get electricity, and we were fed reality. It's not exactly a brain in the vat, but it's that kind of scenario. So anyway, let's go on to another subject now, which is something that a lot of people worry about, and that's this one. Now, I don't know what their theory is, so I'm just going to read this out and see what happens. Simulation hypothesis presupposes a paradigm in which if God exists, he is not the ultimate entity. No, I disagree. The simulation theory merely states that there is somebody controlling the simulation. Nobody really knows who that is, but basically they must have more scientific ability than us. We do not know how to do this ourselves. We're like children, toddlers playing with computers, or again, not just computers, but anything that would be able to create this kind of situation. So they're saying that if God exists, he's not the ultimate entity. That would be true from the point of view that if God exists in this scenario, or in the simulation scenario, then he must be a member of a race which are the ultimate entity. It doesn't necessarily mean there's only one, but the point is surely that it does not belie God. Now, it's very difficult to understand how this could affect Christianity, for instance. It's the only religion I really know about, because Christianity is based on a set of rules. But the Bible initially states, as I said on my stream this morning, the Bible initially stated in the beginning was the Word was with God, and then there's all that bit about creating heaven and earth. Well, if that's not a simulation, I don't know what is, to be honest. So it doesn't deny God, but on the other hand, it certainly denies that God is a sole deity. It implies that the person, or I say person for the sake of argument, that a person is actually merely, if they created this situation, is merely the person has a total power over that particular simulation. So effectively God to whoever is in that simulation. And maybe the Bible is a very garbled attempt to work all that out. Right, chances are, as I said, about 50-50 this is according to scientists, not according to me. And whether you would think it was a personal rephrase that, whether you think it's a simulation based on the past, the present, the future, doesn't matter who created it or whatever, any kind of simulation and chances are about 50-50. Brain in a vat. Nobody knows how the brain got there. Nobody knows why anyone would put a brain in a vat. Nobody would know why they're feeding it all this information. We can't know in any situation where there's a simulation going on why it's being done. Or indeed if it is. I mean, we can't prove it. This comes up time and time again. We can't prove that we're in a simulation. So therefore, we have to assume that we might be. As I say, I'm 99% sure that we are in some form of simulation, but I don't believe is a computer simulation. As I say, I think, and one thing that I'll explain why a bit more later on, but one thing that I think more often than not is that somewhere there is a version of me which is simulated, and doesn't mean I'm not real. Simulation does not mean you're not real. To you, if you've been given the ability to be self-aware, you are real. All your experiences are real to you. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we are an artificial life form. It just means that we have evolved in a scenario which has been controlled by a simulation. So I envisage it like this. I maybe this is a very basic scenario. I think might involve the kind of thing we're talking about. So there is somewhere a lab. And this lab, we can't tell where. I've no idea where it is. It's just somewhere. And this lab is able to create a simulated environment by feeding electronic impulses of various types into a biological brain. And their idea is to find out how to make life better for others by constantly trying out various scenarios in this world and observing the results, or maybe to find out how various brains react to adverse results. So for this to work, you'd have to have a lot of brains all being fed different inputs and seeing how they react to them. For instance, it's often been said that money doesn't buy you happiness. Well, that would be an ideal scenario to set up a simulation for. On the other hand, people who are under great stress often come out shining and are able to give of their best because they've faced crisis. It's often been said that the youth of today are less disciplined because they were never disciplined as children. Yet discipline and spanking, slapping, and so on are held to be bad, in that they create character. It was said that those who went through World War I and World War II had a great deal more respect for. I'm sorry, I'm in a lot. I do apologise. Had a great deal more respect for the government and for other people. So all these things could be tested by a simulation. As to who's doing it, I have no idea. Why? I mean, why I've just explained about who, but I have no idea at all. I can only assume that they're doing it, and it's kind of a workplace for them. That their work is to find out how people are affected by this sort of stuff, and maybe so that they can make changes in their own environment, unless they're in a simulation too, but then that really fries the brain, so I'm not getting into that one. So that's my thing, and that basically death just amounts to the simulation being over and you come out of the simulation ready to go into another one. They clear all the inputs, they wipe clean the previous ones and then start again. But this is the other thing, glitches. Now here we're going to go into some sort of slightly tin hat type scenario. So let's go into this then. So here's the Mandela effect. Mandela effect. Mandela effect is a psychological phenomenon, or maybe not, where a large group of people share a false memory of a specific event, person, or detail. It's named after an incident where many people mistakenly recall Nelson Mandela's death in prison in the 1980s. Now, I know that didn't happen because I watched, I remember I was at my parents' house and I watched Nelson Mandela, Long Walk to Freedom, when he was released from prison. I didn't know he died in 2013, but I know that he actually was out of prison when he died. Another one is in the James Bond film where Jaws meets the massive Jaws meets the very slightly built girl, and everyone remembers that she had braces. But every DVD copy that people have been able to get hold of have said that she didn't wear braces. And this is what a Mandela effect is, where many people are convinced that they saw something or heard something or experienced something which is not true. Lots of people see this as a glitch in the simulation. I'm not going to say the Matrix because everyone would expect me to. So basically, the simulation has gone doolally somewhere. Another example of this is, and it was actually shown in the Matrix, is when you have deja vu, and the guy turns around and says, "Oh yeah, that's just when they changed something in the Matrix." So again, that's another thing. Angel of Mons, where a whole load of World War One soldiers saw angels over the battlefield at Mons in World War One. Again, could be a simulation glitching. There's all sorts of things that that would make you think, hang on a minute, that's not quite right. And all these are used to work out basically that there could be a system which glitches from time to time. And the thing I was watching this morning on YouTube is very interesting from the point of view that it said that I believe I mentioned 1 gram of DNA contained 2.35 petabytes of information. But we're rapidly approaching, or we will be rapidly approaching within the next 50 to 100 years, the point of time where every single bit of information in the world will be more than the number of atoms in the world. It's all very sort of theoretical, but which basically means that if all the information can't be stored, the only way will be to wipe it and start again. So that doesn't bode well for humanity, does it? So, I mean, I don't know whether you'd agree or not that we are in a simulation. I think the evidence says that pretty much that we are, and lots of respected physicists believe that we are, or that at least willing to concede the fact we are. So let's just go back and see if there's anything else that we might be able to glean from this then. So time slips. Here's another one. Somebody goes out one day and they're walking down their local high street. And I would have loved to if this happened to me. And all of a sudden, everything changes, and there's people who are around them who are very strangely dressed, and they look at them strangely because of what they're wearing. And again, there are lots of documented time slips in the world. And then suddenly, just as soon as they left, they arrived back in their normal space, and there you go. You literally moved in time without moving in space. Anyway, I'm going to start drawing to a close now because all I want to do is get this sort of idea across. I will do more on this if you want, or if you want, I can do various supernatural things that fascinate me. But this is the big one. I mean, this is the one that makes you wonder about all this stuff, whether it's all real in the first place, basically. Let me just have a look at this again. So we're looking at simulation theory. See if anything I might have missed that might convince you. Simulation hypothesis, chance of about 50-50. But everyone seems to think they're so hard for this computer thing. I mean, if you can invent something that runs like a universe that runs within its own little bubble, then why would you need a computer? Um, I mean, the rules are there. Like the rules, the speed of light, the Fibonacci sequence. I don't really know what. Let's have a look at that Fibonacci sequence. Um, right. Fibonacci sequence. Basically, despite the Fibonacci is a series of numbers where each is the sum of the two preceding numbers. And when you map this out, perhaps this will explain it better than me. Sequence is not one. Each is blah blah blah. Blah. In the pattern, it goes on and on and on. I'm trying to find. This is the golden zone. Yeah. Perhaps I shouldn't maybe have thought about this one. I mean, Fibonacci sequence is a series of numbers and it produces spirals and so on. But the moon is a better example, I think. So let's have a look at the moon. Now, the moon is see if it comes up. Yeah, celestial bodies. Okay, the sun is star and the earth and the moon provides light and or provides light and water. I'm losing track here. I'm sorry. I'll start again. The sun and the moon. When you have a solar eclipse, the moon actually covers the sun precisely, and we're not talking within, maybe sort of 3/4 or 99%. It's precisely the same size as the sun, because the moon is 400 times smaller than the sun, but it's 400 times further away. Does that not strike you as totally and utterly mind-blowing that the moon just happens to be exactly the right place to provide us not only with that kind of mathematics, but also to provide the Earth with exactly what it needs for life? So either we are in a simulation and the moon is precisely placed to do that, or the moon is artificial, and that's a whole different ballgame. But anyway, there are lots of things like that. There are so many coincidences, and this is what's convinced me personally that that we're in a simulation. In my life, there's so many patterns that are repeated over and over and over and over again. And I'm not just talking, over the last few years. I'm talking about all my life. I've always been, whilst not poor, not certainly not rich. I've had the same types of effects happen to me again and again and again. If your life is like mine, you will know what I mean. You're sitting there, you're watching TV, and something comes on the TV, a song perhaps that you haven't heard for years. Suddenly, it's on every single day, every 2 or 3 times a day. You haven't seen someone for donkey's years. You talk about one day, and suddenly next week they're there in some form. A lot of people might say, "Oh, well, some of that stuff because Alexa's listening to you, and when you speak about something." Well, I don't buy that. I mean, if they got that kind of technology, it'd be worth billions. So I would say that these are all coincidences and not coincidences at all. These are all fed to us by whatever form of simulation we're living in. Generally speaking, you might say that's too simplified to be true, but in my life I have found that to be true. But the kicker for me is that I've always found that if there's something in my life that I want to happen badly, and again, it's not invalid that I'm in a simulation. It's still, you still got things you want, things you need, things you would like to happen. But in order to achieve a piece of what I would call good luck, I have to again and again and again have bad luck. It's almost like there's a balance that has to be maintained, and that in order to get what I want, something bad has to happen first. And that's not. I'm not trying to be melodramatic about it. I mean, it's only little stuff. For instance, let's just say I want to, I've done something that might mean I might end up getting some money. Well, if I do get the money, if the universe, whatever you want to call it, is to give me the money, then I have first got to go through several other items of bad luck to get there. That might sound like it's over dramatic, but I have observed this, and it's not a thing I'm saying, oh, please feel sorry for me. I don't feel that way at all. It's just a fact. So anyway, there you go. It's been long. It's been rambling. I've been going on for half an hour now. And I'd really like you guys just to understand a little of why it is that I feel like we are living in a simulation, but I do very much so. And if you can, just go onto YouTube, type in simulation theory, the screen will fill with stuff. And all that stuff will be physicists and some just normal people like you and me, maybe even some nutcases trying to explain it to you much better than I can. So yeah, have a look and see what you think. It's all over the internet. Just type in simulation theory and watch all the videos appear. I'm going to stop now because I nearly lost it a couple of times when I'm trying to explain it to him. Because I'm so enthusiastic about it, I want to explain it to you, and sometimes I just lose it. So yeah, have a look and see what you think. And if you want me to do any more videos like this, I'll certainly think about it. Anything paranormal you might want to talk about, I'm fairly well versed in most of it. And we'll see what happens. So see you later. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, if you like what you see, like and subscribe. All the Patreon and the tips are as usual down in the about section. And I'll see you again soon. Bye bye for now.